Welcome to the maiden edition of NASS This week.
And what he is praying now is
that in this scenario, the key of Kano State
will be given priorities and so that at the end of
Welcome to this interesting edition of NASS This Week on EkoHot TV. My name is Comfort Olayinka. On Tuesday, Honorable Kalejaiye Adeboye Paul moved for the need to make provision for free high blood pressure and sugar level check desk at airports. Says the stress associated with travel, coupled with the sedentary nature of long flights, can significantly impact the health of individuals, particularly those with pre-existing conditions such as high blood pressure and diabetes.
Also aware that it is of utmost importance to prioritize health of individuals traveling long through our airports, and this motion aims to ensure their access to essentials. Believe that by establishing free health, high blood pressure and sugar level check desks at our airports, we can promote early detection and prevention care for conditions such as hypertension and diabetics. Regular monitoring of these vital health parameters will enable travelers to seek medical intervention and prevent potential complications. Also believe that the provision of these desks will demonstrate our commitment to public health promotion.
On Wednesday, a motion to revive federal government-assisted urban mass transit scheduled for interstate and intrastate transport was moved by Honorable Olumide Oshoba. Honorable Olumide Oshoba, with other co-sponsors, Honorable Kama Nkem Kama, Honorable Princess Miriam Onoha, says that sequel to removal of fuel subsidy on refined petroleum products and premium motor spirits (PMS) in particular, the cost of transportation of humans, goods, and services within cities, intrastate and interstate had made more double and in some instances triple, thereby causing untold hardship to the majority of Nigerians. Still on subsidy, Honorable Dennis Nnamdi Agbo moved for increased engagement for Nigerians to select acceptable palliative options for after removal of fuel subsidy. Mesoma Ejikeme, a student from the just concluded UTME who was accused of manipulation, has publicly apologized to the country at large during an investigative hearing with the ad hoc committee on alleged manipulation of Mesoma's JAMB, says she has learnt a bitter lesson from the episode. On Thursday, Honorable Adebayo Olusegun Balogun moved for the declaration of a state of emergency on electricity in Ibeju-Lekki Federal Constituency of Lagos State. Says businesses have been grounded by power, which has led to loss of revenue and impoverished the good and law-abiding people of the local government.
The whole of Ibeju-Lekki local government have been in total darkness for the past 10 years, causing so much hardship to the people and their livelihood. Urge the Federal Ministry of Power to urgently make an holistic provision in the 2024 budget estimate to enable it tackle the situation once and for all.
Stay tuned for interview of this week.
Yeah.
Good day, Honorable.
How are you?
Fine, sir. Kindly introduce yourself.
I'm Honorable Prince Balogun, member representing Ibeju-Lekki Federal Constituency of Lagos State.
Thank you very much, sir. You moved the motion on the declaration of state of emergency on electricity in Ibeju-Lekki Federal Constituency of Lagos State. Give us an insight as to why you moved the motion.
Well, let's say about 20 years ago, Ibeju-Lekki happens to be one of the local government that enjoys good quality electricity. And then the population was very quite small, and that's until the development ushered in by Ajeromi, the bringing in of the free trade zone, which led to the deep sea port, Dangote refinery, and all other real estate development moving into Ibeju-Lekki. Today, Ibeju-Lekki is the fastest growing local government in Nigeria in terms of development. This, I believe, have actually overwhelmed the level of infrastructure in terms of electrification in that corridor, and have led to total collapse of the electricity infrastructure. And there is a need to generally come in to upgrade whatever we have in that corridor. And if we look at the landmass, Ibeju-Lekki is about 1/4 of total landmass of Lagos. And concerning the development, I can tell you, Ibeju-Lekki, in terms of population, by the time we have the next census, we'll rank one of the first 3 or 4 in terms of population. But because it's a large area, people are not too concentrated in one place, unlike what we have in some local governments. So that's why people didn't really know the effects. So it's really affecting the population, and the development has actually eaten deep into the infrastructure we have. It has even affected our roads too. Thank God the state government is taking the bull by the horn in terms of the road. It's total reconstruction of the road we're having from Ekpe now down to Adebayo, which is a major project. It's a reinforced concrete roads that we're having. You know, the caliber of trucks that buy that road now are heavy duty trucks, 30 tons, 40 tons, 50 tons trucks are applying that road on a daily basis. And so there's generally need for upgrading of our infrastructure, and that of electricity is very key. It has affected the development, the economy of the area. People can no longer trade. People can no longer do businesses. Those who are trying to do their businesses are running at a loss because the overhead is getting too high. Imagine ordinary Baba needing to be spending, buying 10 liters or 5 liters every day to do ordinary barbing salon. And we know we have the free trade zone along the axis now. Most of the companies are running on generators, which is not too good for their businesses. That's why some of these businesses are moving to Ghana, and the rest Dunlop and Co moving to Ghana. And the essence of the free trade zone is to create an hub, industrial hub, where people can take advantage of economy of scale, companies can take advantage of economy of scale. And in the free trade zone, the price must be very cheap. That means your inputs must come in cheap. All your factors of production must be cheap. So in a situation where you are running on diesel and petrol, you can never get good pricing, and it's not making our products very attractive in terms of prices. So we hope the federal government will take the bull by the horn this time around and ensure that an holistic approach is taken to ensure that we solve the matter once and for all. Yes, over time there are some palliative that have been done. You see the light come out, within 15 minutes it's gone, and it might be the next 3-4 months before they will come back and see what they could do again. After trying something, within the next few days it's also gone. So it's been up and down for years. I personally use about 50 liters of diesel every day. So it's not been easy at all. So we hope the relevant agency will come in and ensure that in the 2024 budget, adequate provision is made to ensure that electricity in that area is actually improved and resuscitated.
Thank you very much, sir. That will be all for now.
Good afternoon, everyone.
Good afternoon.
It's a pleasure to meet you.
My pleasure too.
For the sake of audience at home, I'd like you to introduce yourself.
I'm Honorable Kalejaiye Adeboye Paul. I represent the good people of Ajeromi, Ifelodun Federal Constituency, one I call Mini Nigeria, because that is the only local government that houses all the ethnic nationalities in Nigeria. I'm from Lagos State, the state of aquatic splendor.
Well, once again, congratulations.
Thank you very much.
You raised a salient motion today on the floor And we would like you to give us insights on that motion that has to do with health.
Well, like it's been acclaimed all over the world, health is wealth. But quite unfortunately, that is one thing that we, particularly as Nigerians, don't pay attention to. We pay attention to so many other things rather than our health. Some out of ignorance, some out of busy schedules, some out of nonchalant attitude. And the major known killer disease all over the world is high blood pressure and diabetes. I'm not saying there are no other killer diseases, but these are diseases that are preventable, that are avoidable. Whereas, God forbid, if somebody has cancer, apart from being expensive to manage, you don't get treatments just on the streets. But if you are diabetic, you can get treatments even in the nearby shop. How? All you need to do is to check your sugar level regularly. When you check your sugar level regularly, you know what exactly to eat, what not to eat, what to take and what not to take. If you are hypertensive, and one major problem with hypertension is the fact that it's a death sentence that you hardly will know. And it's such a disease that occurs on time. That's time. What do I mean by half time? You may wake up this morning and your blood pressure is normal. But if you undergo certain activities or you encounter certain things that are not pleasant to you, it could change your high blood level. If you quarrel unnecessarily and you're angered, even though in the morning your blood pressure is normal, that anger may trigger your blood pressure. In other words, blood pressure is something we need to check regularly. But then, more compounded is the fact that those who suffer majorly from high blood pressure and diabetes, particularly high blood pressure, are the rich people. The rich people are so busy chasing money, chasing wealth, chasing contracts, chasing all kinds of things. And hardly do they have time to pay attention to their blood level. For instance, busy people want to catch air, they want to fly. They are catching flight at 6 a.m., 7 a.m. They're in Abuja in the morning. They're in Lagos in the afternoon. Some are in Lagos today. In the evening, they are in UK. Some are in Lagos today. In the next 48 hours, they're in US, chasing one thing or the other. So in that busy schedules, it's most difficult for you to check your blood pressure regularly. So that's why I have raised a motion today, which has been accepted, that in our airports, we must have an health check point. An health check point where it is not compulsory, it is free, it is at your pleasure. Maybe you still have 1 hour to your flight, still have some 5-10 minutes to spare. You can just enter the health check spot. And then they check your BP. It doesn't take more than 5 minutes. If your blood level is not normal, it reminds you that, oh, I've not taken my drug today if you're on drug. If it's not normal, you're not on drug, it tells you that, look, you are moving towards the drug level. If you are not using drug, it tells you that you must take things lightly. Maybe you need some 30 minutes rest even before you board your plane. If that plane cannot fly you that hour, you can reschedule your flight. So it triggers some caution for everyone that is traveling. So it's not compulsory, it's just voluntary. If you choose to do it, fine. And if you need medication, like the presiding speaker was asking me when I moved the motion that how do we fund it? And I'm saying that, look, it does not require high-level funding, because you are not asking the Minister of Health through the Minister of Aviation fund to go and be buying drugs for people. No. We're only saying health checkpoints. The pharmaceutical companies exist in all our airports. If they ask you, your blood level is high, man, what drug are you on? And you say you are supposed to, can you just, they give you a prescription note, you just enter the pharmaceutical shop, and then you can buy your drug. So I'm not looking at funding as anything so major. What government needs to do is to provide a space, and before I moved the motion, I went to at least 4 major airports in Nigeria to do my investigation. And in the course of my investigation, I found out that we have some form of health check centers, like those who are issuing the vaccines card, that's your yellow fever vaccine card. They exist, for instance, in Lagos International Airport, they exist in one small corner upstairs. If you're hypertensive, before you even climb those stairs, but there is no lift to that place, before you climb that, it will aggravate your health conditions. And then they're not majorly there to check such things. They're just there to issue your vaccine card. So what I'm trying to say is that we could do all of this by just creating, I interviewed people from the customer care session, and I saw a large space that they use. They are doing nothing. And some of them that I spoke to said, look, we can create a space here. So even a customer check where people will sit down waiting, whatever. While you are waiting, some people sit down for 30 minutes, 1 hour before they board their plane. You can just put your hand there and they do a check for you. So that's what the motion is all about. It's for safety. Because you remember, many people slum and die while traveling. I've lost a friend's wife. On the point of entry at UK, she slummed and she died. We've lost so many people. My motion did not make mentions of name because we had to protect their identity. But I have records of people who have slummed and died at the airports.
So Honorable, what you're trying to tell us is for accessibility. That's one of the motions is for easy accessibility of such facility.
Exactly.
And that is call for maybe partnership between the government and the private sector as well to see how to come up with such a facility as well.
I'm not looking at the private sector per se, because the private people don't own the airport. The airport is owned by government, controlled by FAN. Are you following what I'm saying? Yes. In provision of space, they provide. Provision of health professionals is government. So perhaps what would the private sector do? Maybe they want to donate drugs and whatever. But I don't want a situation where we go into a comprehensive medical checkup.
Just a unit.
A unit. That's all I want. So it doesn't become cumbersome to operate. Most of our resolutions need to be implemented. And when you're passing a resolution, a motion in the House, you must be futuristic and look at the implementation strategies. If your implementation strategies are not right, you may not get the motion implemented. Thank you. Thank you.
Now the Senate. The Nigerian Senate has called on the Ministries of Works and Housing, Environment, as well as the Ecological Fund Office to urgently tackle the menace of erosion devastating major roads across the country. These resolutions were reached on Tuesday at the plenary after a debate on 3 separate motions stating the urgent need to control the erosion ravaging Onitsha-Oba section of Onitsha-Owerri Federal Highway in Anambra State.
And the Senate equally notes that the magnitude of the menace is beyond the control of the state government. Accordingly, the Senate resolves to urge the federal government to direct the Federal Ministry of Works and Housing to commence immediate repairs and reconstruction of the affected parts of the Onitsha-Owerri Federal Roads, and particularly the sections between Opiweka roundabout in Onitsha and Oba in Idemili South local government area of Anambra State, which spans about 6 kilometers. The Senate also urges the Federal Ministry of Works and Housing to ensure regular surveillance of federal highways to identify and nip erosion threats to federal routes in the board.
Following a point of order raised by a senator representing Katsina Central, Abdulaziz Adwa, on abuse of firearms at border communities on Wednesday, the Nigerian Senate has set up an ad hoc committee to immediately investigate the involvement of Nigerian Custom on the matter. The 11-man committee, headed by Senator Francis Fadausi, has 6 weeks to complete the investigation on the alleged abuse of firearms by custom officers and report back to the Senate. Senator Akintunde Yunus Abiodun of Oyo Central on Thursday moved for the need to halt the proposed increase in electricity tariff by 11 successor electricity distribution companies, DISCO. Says within the last 10 years, billions of naira were spent by senators across Nigeria in procurement and installation of transformers through various zonal intervention projects, ZLPs, as a result of requests in senators' various constituencies.
Worried that the inability to checkmate this recurring abuse of firearms by officers of the Nigerian Customs Service might lead to further loss of innocent lives and possibly reprisal attacks by angered civilians, urge the Nigerian Customs Service to fish out the errant officers and investigate the incident that led the custom operatives to open fire on unarmed civilians.
So-called smuggling. And when we rose against it in the committee, we were not allowed to do the real job then from this Senate. Today, I'm very happy that the former Senate President is complaining because it has come to his mouth. The same Ali that they were protecting is now haunting them.
We've come to the end of today's edition. Join us same time next week for another interesting edition. Bye for now.